Let's explore these mysteries together in today's video. The tragedy of lost ancient knowledge. Throughout the history of humankind, the loss of ancient knowledge stands as a profound tragedy, one that has deeply affected the course of civilization's development. When great libraries such as Alexandria, the repositories of China, or Constantinople were destroyed by politics or social upheaval, humanity lost a significant portion of its precious intellectual treasures. This did not merely consign countless scientific, technical, and philosophical achievements to oblivion, but it also left a lasting impact on the rhythm of global progress. The Library of Alexandria was once the greatest center of learning in the ancient world, housing hundreds of thousands of manuscripts across the sciences and humanities. It was not only a repository of knowledge, but a vibrant meeting place, where scholars from diverse cultures gathered, fostering dialogue and innovation. When this library was consumed by fire, countless unique works, along with the opportunity to preserve and advance ancient traditions of thought, vanished forever. Other great libraries, such as those in Athens and Pergamon, were also ravaged, bringing about the gradual disappearance of entire collections of philosophy, literature, history, and natural science. In Asia, the infamous book-burning edict under Qin Shi Huang disrupted the intellectual flow of Chinese civilization. In Constantinople, waves of looting and prolonged conflict resulted in the irreparable loss of countless Greek and Roman manuscripts. Medieval Europe faced waves of religious purges, reforms, and wars, leading to the destruction of libraries, the burning of books, and the long-term loss of entire bodies of knowledge over many centuries. A telling example of these consequences is found in the story of Hero of Alexandria, the inventor of the world's first steam engine and odometer. Had the manuscripts describing his invention survived and been widely disseminated, mechanical technology might have developed thousands of years ahead of its time. The loss or disruption of so many advanced scientific and technical achievements slowed the progress of many great civilizations. Countless ideas had to be rediscovered or waited for unique social conditions before they could truly flourish. Modern researchers believe that the disappearance of ancient records and knowledge was not just a loss for one culture, it interrupted the entire journey of human development. If those vast libraries had not been destroyed, many scientific, technological, and philosophical revolutions might have arrived centuries earlier. The lesson is clear. Preserving and passing on knowledge is not only a responsibility to the past, but an essential task for the sustainable growth of the future. In a world where modern information remains vulnerable to conflict and disaster, the mission to safeguard, protect, and digitize our intellectual heritage is more important than ever. Magic and religion in ancient Egypt. Within the culture of ancient Egypt, the concept of magic was not merely a form of superstition or religious faith, but was regarded as an empirical field of knowledge, a force existing alongside physical laws and the natural order. He, understood as a metaphysical power passed from the gods to humankind, was seen by the Egyptians as an essential element, ensuring the order of the cosmos and the prosperity of both the nation and each individual. In every facet of society, from state ceremonies to daily life, the presence of He operated in tandem with divine will and political authority. Archaeological records in ancient texts such as the Ebers Papyrus, the Edwin Smith Papyrus, and inscriptions on tomb walls all demonstrate that magic occupied a pivotal role within Egyptian thinking. Major royal rituals, such as coronations or ceremonies meant to shield the pharaoh from visible and invisible threats, were carried out with the participation of magicians and priests dedicated to harnessing the power of He. Even medical treatments often blended practical pharmacology with incantations, clearly illustrating that science, magic, divinity were inseparable in Egyptian thought. Furthermore, magic was employed to protect individuals and families from evil spirits, disease, or misfortune. Amulets and talismans were painstakingly crafted and tied to complex rituals intended to activate the power of He and safeguard the well-being and prosperity of their bearers. From nobles and officials to ordinary citizens, the use of magic was universal, revealing just how deeply embedded this mindset was within the fabric of Egyptian society. The religious reforms under Akhenaten marked a period of great transformation in beliefs regarding the gods and magic. When Akhenaten promoted exclusive worship of the sun god Aten, abolishing the traditional polytheistic system, magical rituals associated with the old deities were outlawed, with many temples, spells, and records destroyed. Yet, analysis of archaeological evidence reveals that, beneath the surface, the populace continued to quietly uphold magical practices, preserving amulets for festivals, healing, and agriculture. What is truly remarkable about ancient Egypt is that magic was never seen as opposed to religion or science, but instead formed a unified worldview. Priests served as both astrologers and physicians, acting as intermediaries to the gods, so that practical knowledge of astronomy was transmitted in mystical forms that nonetheless reflected careful observation of nature. Magic was applied in weather forecasting, flood prediction, and even pyramid construction, demonstrating a remarkable ability to integrate knowledge across many fields. The blend of metaphysical belief and empirical knowledge drove the development of unique applied techniques, such as using incantations in mummification or conducting energy transfer rituals in traditional medicine, which would later lay foundations for modern medical treatments. The concept of he, along with its network of symbols, rituals, and sacred objects, maintained social stability, reinforced the power of the pharaoh, protected communities, and sustained links across generations through historical turmoil. Today, as archaeologists and historians delve deeper into Egypt's ancient culture, surviving artifacts and texts continue to show that magic was a fundamental element, shaping the native knowledge system both experimental and deeply metaphysical. The interweaving of magic, religion, and empirical science was the very reason ancient Egypt endured for millennia, leaving a legacy of science, art, engineering, and culture that stands the test of time. The microbial world beneath the Earth. Scientific research in recent decades has completely transformed humanity's understanding of life beneath the surface of the Earth. When international scientists under the Deep Carbon Observatory project probed deep into geological layers, they uncovered an underground microbial ecosystem on a scale far beyond what anyone had imagined. According to scientific reports, the total biomass of microorganisms living underground is estimated at around 23 billion tons, twice the biomass of all living things in the world's oceans. Most of these bacteria and microbes exist at depths of up to several kilometers below the surface, where there is no sunlight, high pressure, and harsh chemical conditions. The most remarkable feature of this subterranean biosphere is its ability to thrive independently of solar energy. Rather than photosynthesis, many species of bacteria and archaea have evolved chemosynthetic mechanisms, using energy from chemical reactions between minerals, water, and gases such as hydrogen or methane to survive. Some groups even produce methane as part of their metabolic cycles, creating sources of energy and nutrients deep in the earth, far removed from light or surface organic matter. Genetic studies reveal that this underground ecosystem is incredibly diverse, with millions of microbial strains, many of which are entirely isolated from the life found on the surface. Some strains have been cut off from the outside environment for millions of years, resulting in unique genetic systems that offer valuable insights into evolutionary processes and biological adaptation under extreme conditions. These discoveries have profound implications for the science of extraterrestrial life. The deep Earth biosphere demonstrates that life can develop in places without sunlight, under great pressure, and with limited resources conditions similar to those on many other bodies in the solar system and beyond. As a result, studying these underground microbes has expanded our understanding of where life might exist, providing reference data for missions searching for life on Mars or on icy moons like Europa and Enceladus. Modern science is thus shifting from the traditional surface-based view of life to a more multidimensional perspective, in which the hidden world beneath our feet becomes a key area for biological and astrobiological research. The nameless Roman city in Spain. When archaeologists first encountered the buried ruins deep beneath the Iberian Peninsula, no one could determine the origins or the true name of this ancient city. On the surface, only scattered traces of stone and foundation remained, buried over thousands of years. It was not until 2023 that new excavations finally revealed the heart of an ancient metropolis, the largest plaza in the region, built in the earliest days of Roman rule in Spain. This plaza bears clear architectural marks of transition between two opposing cultures. Beneath layers of earth and rock, researchers identified the classic structure of a Roman-style plaza, yet interwoven with indigenous elements never before seen in other cities of the region. The paving stones still show scars of impact, and the large geometric slabs are surrounded by remnants of columns and foundations of public buildings. During the Roman Republic, the entire Iberian Peninsula was a battleground for ongoing conflict between occupying forces and native communities. The most notable event was the fierce uprising of the Soran people, which led to the city's total destruction around 70 BCE. The devastation was so complete that the city was erased from ancient records and even lost its name on historical maps. Today, scientists have only reached the center of the plaza and still cannot precisely determine the true size or boundaries of the city. All archaeological evidence points to a complex point of convergence, serving as a bridge between the old native civilization and the new Roman administrative system. This may be one of the earliest examples of Romanization, as the Romans gradually transformed traditional settlements into cities with standardized plazas and public infrastructure. From layers of charred ruins and debris, researchers are still searching for evidence of life before the Romans and the transformation that came with changing power. This nameless plaza has become the starting point for new questions about the rise and disappearance of ancient cities that once stood between two great cultures of Western Europe. What has been uncovered is only the beginning of a long journey, where each stone and each sediment layer could reveal a new facet of ancient urban history. The ancient telescope. The Nimrud lens, also known as the Nimrud crystal, is a piece of crystal discovered in 1850 at the Assyrian site of Nimrud in Mesopotamia. At around 3,000 years old, it remains one of the most controversial artifacts regarding ancient optical technology. This object, crafted from clear quartz crystal, is slightly oval in shape, with two finely polished convex surfaces. It has a measured focal length of about 12 centimeters and produces nearly 3 times the magnification of the naked eye. Its size and shape are remarkably similar to modern magnifying glasses, revealing the advanced crystal working techniques of the ancient Assyrians. As for its purpose, archaeologists and historians have proposed several hypotheses based on experimental trials and ancient records. The most common theory holds that the lens was used as a tool by craftsmen to engrave fine details on tiny objects such as seals, amulets, or jewelry items so small they would be hard to see unaided. With the magnification provided by the lens, artisans could create intricate patterns on precious objects, illustrating the synchronized development of art and technology in the ancient world. Another theory suggests that the Nimrud lens may have been used as a burning glass, focusing sunlight to ignite fire, possibly for religious rituals or special purposes in Assyrian spiritual life. This matches accounts from ancient Greek and Roman sources describing fire glasses used in temples or sacrificial ceremonies. Furthermore, the lens's ability to concentrate heat could have been useful in chemical experiments, materials processing, or even medicine. However, the most intriguing hypothesis comes from researcher Giovanni Pettinato, who proposed that the Nimrud lens could have been part of a more complex optical device, perhaps even an early prototype of the telescope, based on surviving records of ancient astronomy. According to Assyrian accounts, planets such as Saturn were described as the god surrounded by a ringed serpent, suggesting that observers saw Saturn's rings something nearly impossible without optical magnification. Pettinato argued that only with such devices could ancient people have perceived these distant features. Besides the Nimrud lens, similar artifacts have been found in ancient Egypt and Greece, raising the question of whether knowledge of optics and lens-making once spread widely across early civilizations, perhaps even before what is documented in historical records. If this is true, the ancients' understanding of optics, light concentration, and energy might have reached an experimental level long thought exclusive to the modern era. The scientific community remains cautious about these theories, due to a lack of direct evidence for the use of lenses in ancient astronomy. Still, the discovery of the Nimrud lens and similar artifacts has prompted a reconsideration of ancient scientific achievements. These finds challenge us to reevaluate the history of optical technology and broaden our perspective on how ancient civilizations accessed and applied natural knowledge, paving the way for later breakthroughs in modern science. Ongoing research into objects like the Nimrud lens demonstrates the value of interdisciplinary archaeology, linking materials, science, the history of technology, and humanity's evolving understanding of nature through the ages. The Second Sunday. In the field of astronomy, the hypothesis of a second sun called Nemesis has sparked debate for decades. According to some scientists, Nemesis could be a red dwarf or brown dwarf star, traveling in an extremely wide orbit around the Sun at a distance far beyond the known edges of our solar system. The existence of this object was proposed to explain the apparent periodicity of mass extinction events throughout Earth's history. Specifically, in 1984, physicist Richard Muller and colleagues at the University of California identified a cycle of roughly 26 to 27 million years between major extinction events in the fossil record. They hypothesized that Nemesis might periodically pass through the Oort cloud, a region at the solar system's edge containing billions of comets and icy bodies. Each time Nemesis approached, its gravitational pull could disturb this cloud, sending a surge of comets toward the inner solar system. As a result, the likelihood of cometary impacts with Earth would increase, triggering large-scale extinction events driven by forces from outer space. However, no direct evidence for Nemesis has ever been found. High-sensitivity infrared surveys, especially NASA's WISE project, have failed to detect any celestial object matching the proposed orbit and mass of Nemesis. Some scientists argue that if Nemesis does exist, it must follow an extremely distant and faint orbit, or that the extinction cycles are actually the result of a complex combination of geological and climatic factors, rather than the influence of a single astronomical body. The Nemesis hypothesis remains a part of ongoing efforts to explain recurring extinction patterns in planetary history. It highlights the possible connection between the movement of celestial bodies within the solar system and the fate of Earth's biosphere. Even without conclusive evidence, the story of Nemesis continues to capture the imagination of scientists and the public alike, representing the boundary between modern knowledge and the enduring mysteries of the universe. The Bell Beaker Culture. Across Western Europe at the close of the Stone Age and the dawn of the Bronze Age, the marks of a new culture gradually emerged. The Bell Beaker Culture. The name comes from their distinctive bell-shaped pottery, which first appeared around 2800 BC. These pots, with their incised patterns and uniform shapes, have become the hallmark of one of the most widespread cultural phenomena in European prehistory. The influence of bell beaker extended far beyond pottery. It brought sweeping changes to burial practices, metallurgy, and especially the composition of populations across the continent. Archaeological evidence shows that these bell-shaped vessels spread from the Iberian Peninsula, through Western and Central Europe, across the British Isles, and even as far as Hungary. As it spread, bell beaker carried with it advanced techniques in bronze working, arrowhead manufacture, new forms of jewelry, and social organization altogether different from earlier cultures like the funnel beaker people or those who built Stonehenge. Bell beaker's impact was not limited to art and technology, it left a direct genetic imprint on European history. Modern DNA studies of hundreds of bell beaker skeletons reveal a dramatic shift in population makeup. In Britain, especially, the genetic profile of bell beaker newcomers virtually replaced that of the Neolithic inhabitants within just a few centuries. Ancient DNA analysis shows that more than 90% of the genes of modern British people originate from the bell beaker migrants, while much of the genetic legacy of Stonehenge's builders has vanished. Along with this population replacement, bell beaker brought new physical traits, lighter skin, hair, and eyes, as well as cultural habits that persist to this day. For years, archaeologists debated whether bell beaker spread by mass migration or cultural diffusion. Recent archaeological and genetic research shows that while the distinctive pots may have been exchanged through interaction, population replacement in regions like the British Isles was indeed driven by migration. This shift also transformed the foundations of society, including agricultural and livestock practices, laying the groundwork for the Bronze Age and the rise of European civilization. The legacy of bell beaker is not only found in its unique ceramics, but also in the massive waves of migration and cultural change that reshaped the genetic and cultural map of modern Europe. Each bell-shaped cup unearthed on the plains or steppes of Europe is a fragment of the larger story of human movement, and mixing a story that forms an inseparable chapter in the history of Western ancestry. Illusion and mechanization in ancient temples. In the temples of the ancient world, especially those of the Mediterranean, the blend of mechanical engineering and theatrical spectacle created experiences that defied the everyday understanding of ordinary people. Hero of Alexandria stands as a prime example of this creative trend. He was not only an inventor, but a pioneer in a new field where mechanical devices were used to produce effects that seemed truly supernatural. Hero described and built a range of devices that used air pressure and pulley systems to simulate phenomena beyond the layman's explanation. Most famously, he designed automata statues that could pour water automatically by exploiting the expansion of air when altar fires were lit. Heat increased the pressure, driving liquids through pipes into the statue's vessel, and creating movement that witnesses could only attribute to divine intervention. Similarly, temple doors could open automatically using counterweights and hydraulic mechanisms. When the altar fire burned hot enough, the doors would swing open, as if commanded by the gods. Speaking statues operated on the principle of sound transmission from hidden chambers behind walls or inside the statues themselves. When a priest spoke from a concealed position, the sound traveled through hollow tubes to the statue's mouth, making worshippers believe the deity was truly present. Hero also described thunder-making devices. By releasing iron balls into metal cauldrons as the temple doors opened, the resulting roar amazed attendees and heightened their belief in supernatural power. Another long-debated mystery was the phenomenon of eternal flames, temple lamps, that seemed to burn without any visible fuel source. From a technical perspective, it's likely that priests used underground pipes to feed oil or bitumen from hidden reservoirs, ensuring a constant supply of fuel that would have been undetectable to outside observers. These inventions testify to the remarkable technical skills of ancient engineers, and the close partnership between applied science and architectural design within religion. Creating such supernatural experiences not only increased the spectacle of religious rites, but also reinforced the authority of the priesthood, turning technological innovation into proof of divine power. A scientific analysis of these devices reveals them as achievements born from careful observation and a deep practical grasp of physics and mechanics. The spatial organization, transmission systems, and use of pressure show a sophisticated understanding of how matter behaves. Through this, religious ritual was not only an expression of faith but also a testing ground for technology, fueling scientific progress and inspiring new generations of creators. The legacy of Hero of Alexandria and other ancient engineers shows that the boundary between magic and science has always been in flux throughout the progress of human knowledge. It is precisely this intersection that paved the way for some of the greatest technological leaps in history. The hypothesis of knowledge beyond its time. In his work Phaedo, Plato has Socrates present a striking image of the earth as a multicolored sphere seen from above. From a modern viewpoint, this description evokes images of Earth as seen from space, with its surface reflecting a mosaic of terrain and atmospheric color. This has led to speculation that the ancient Greeks may have possessed knowledge that surpassed traditional observation, or perhaps even had access to timeless cosmic insights. Yet a full analysis of the historical and scientific context shows that most such descriptions were primarily artistic metaphors, reflecting the philosophical tendency of the Greeks to idealize the cosmos and the material world. By that era, the spherical shape of Earth was accepted by many scholars, especially Pythagoras and the pre-Socratic astronomers. The description of vivid colors may have come from direct geographical observation, or from a desire to create a harmonious and unified vision of the cosmos in line with Platonic philosophy. The real question is, did the Greek philosophers actually possess or predict cosmic truths, only later confirmed by modern science, or were these merely products of philosophical imagination? Greek achievements in mathematics and astronomy, such as the recognition of Earth's sphericity or the prediction of eclipses, were major steps forward, but still grounded in direct observation and rational inference. There is no concrete evidence that the Greeks ever viewed Earth from space or had the technology to see the planet on a cosmic scale. Nonetheless, the hypothesis of Socratic knowledge, beyond its time, reflects an important phenomenon: the power of imagination and the synthesis of knowledge in ancient civilizations. It laid the foundation for scientific thinking, raising new questions about the nature of the cosmos and paving the way for later astronomical discoveries. Such descriptions are not proof of ancient space science, but they do reveal a relentless human drive to expand the boundaries of understanding and to enrich the intellectual journey of our species. The melting glacier disaster. Doomsday Glacier. The Thwaites Glacier in West Antarctica has become a source of growing concern in the global scientific community. It is one of the world's largest glaciers by mass and area, acting as a natural dam that helps stabilize the entire West Antarctic ice sheet. Climate and geophysical studies reveal that the base of Thwaites is warming at an unusual rate, with meltwater from warm ocean currents seeping beneath the ice. This process is eroding crucial support points, making the collapse of Thwaites increasingly likely. The worst-case scenario is that if Thwaites Glacier collapses entirely, it could destabilize the entire West Antarctic ice sheet, releasing hundreds of trillions of tons of ice into the ocean. This would cause global sea levels to rise by more than 10 feet, leading to widespread flooding in low-lying coastal areas, including major cities along the U.S. East Coast, such as New York, as well as many other seaside communities. The consequences would not just be the loss of land, but dramatic upheaval in population and the fabric of urban ecosystems. Faced with this threat, scientists have proposed several large-scale intervention strategies. One idea is to pump seawater onto the glacier's surface during winter, using the cold climate to freeze new layers of ice and help slow melting at the base. Another, more technical approach is the construction of submerged barriers, vast underwater curtains placed in front of the glacier's grounding line to block warm ocean water from reaching the most vulnerable parts of the ice. These solutions would require massive financial and technological resources, not to mention environmental risks and practical effectiveness that remain unproven. Although these engineering solutions are still in the research or modeling stage, the story of Thwaites shows that scientists are shifting toward actively preventing climate disasters, not just observing and recording them. Intervening in a continent-scale ice system presents unprecedented challenges in the history of Earth science, demanding international cooperation, and most importantly, decisive climate policy on a global scale. The fate of Thwaites is not just a matter for Antarctica. It is a crucial test of humanity's capacity to adapt and work together in the face of global risks created by both natural processes and our own actions. Medical knowledge of the Maya. The traditional medicine of the Maya people was a multidimensional system of knowledge that harmoniously blended empirical practice with a deep belief in the connection between body and spirit. In the Maya worldview, health was not simply a physical condition but reflected the balance of Chulel, the vital energy believed to be the flow that sustains life and links the material and spiritual aspects of humanity. The Maya developed a variety of healing methods based on native herbs, with particular emphasis on the use of natural foods, like chia seeds and cacao. Chia was highly valued for its ability to provide sustained energy, support bone and joint health, and regulate digestion. Cacao, apart from its nutritional role, also held a significant place in spiritual rituals and was used to improve circulation, stabilize mood, and enhance neurological well-being. Modern scientific findings on the biological benefits of antioxidants and polyphenols found in these two foods often echo these ancient applications. Beyond herbal remedies, the Maya also practiced therapeutic steam baths known as temazcal, a traditional steam bath that used vapor infused with herbs. This technique not only helped to detoxify the body but also relieved stress, improved blood circulation, and facilitated recovery after illness or childbirth. Today, these principles are widely recognized in rehabilitation, medicine, and holistic healthcare, where psychological well-being, living environment, and mental state are increasingly considered essential in managing chronic illness. The concept of Chulel is inherently systematic, reflecting an integrated view of the biological body and its environment, and implying that personal health depends on the harmony of physical, mental, and communal factors. This mirrors modern theories of psychosomatic medicine and preventive health, in which nutrition and social interaction are now known to be closely linked to long-term well-being. The medical knowledge of the Maya is valuable not only as an archaeological legacy but also as a foundation for many models of modern healthcare, from functional nutrition to rehabilitation and mind-body medicine. The preservation and study of these indigenous experiences broaden the reference frame for health sciences and suggest the potential for multidisciplinary solutions in public health management today. Silla. The Kingdom of Silla emerged in 57 BCE in the southeastern region of the Korean peninsula, initially as a small state but gradually expanded its power through a tightly structured society and political reforms. Over nearly a millennium of existence, Silla endured many upheavals, including periods of internal division and wars with neighboring states such as Goguryeo and Baekje, but ultimately evolved into a major cultural and economic center in the region. One of Silla's greatest turning points came in the 7th century, when it formed an alliance with China's Tang dynasty to launch large-scale military campaigns aimed at conquering its two rival kingdoms on the peninsula. After years of continuous warfare, Silla became the dominant force, and succeeded in unifying nearly the entire Korean peninsula in 668. This not only ushered in a long era of political stability but also paved the way for the flourishing of art, religion, and technology. Silla is renowned for its royal tombs filled with gold, monumental pagodas, and its adoption of Chinese influences in legal systems and Buddhism. Silla's state administration was built on the aristocratic bone rank system, which divided the elite into clearly defined hereditary classes to tightly control power in key government positions. While this provided stability to the government apparatus, it also fostered a deeply conservative society. By the 10th century, Silla began to weaken under internal strife, pressure from regional military powers, and the rise of the Goryeo dynasty. In 935, Silla officially came to an end after nearly 1,000 years, leaving a profound legacy in Korean history in terms of art and governance. Recent archaeological research in Gyeongju, the ancient capital of Silla, continues to reveal the complex development of this kingdom, which once played a central role in cultural exchange across medieval East Asia. The Queen of the Night. Among the world's most important collections of antiquities, the terracotta statue known as the Queen of the Night remains an unsolved mystery at the British Museum. Created about 4,000 years ago at the height of Babylonian civilization, this relief depicts a naked woman standing atop two lions, surrounded by owl motifs. Although medium in size, its symbolic weight far surpasses that of an ordinary religious artifact. Material analysis shows the statue was fashioned from high-fired clay using advanced kiln techniques rare in ancient Mesopotamia. The sharply carved details reflect the artist's exceptional skill and reveal a deep sense of aesthetics and mythology that laid the foundations of both religion and power in Babylon. The artifact's value lies not only in its form but also in its complex layers of meaning. Scholars have long debated the true identity of this figure. Some believe it represents the goddess Inanna, the Sumerian deity of love and war. Others see links to Lilith, a character from ancient Jewish tradition known as Adam's first wife, who later became a symbol of rebellion. This association has sparked deep discussions about the transmission of mythological motifs between Mesopotamia and the ancient Near East, and the formation of foundational stories that later influenced the great world religions. The true origins of the Queen of the Night remain elusive, as its discovery lacked detailed archaeological documentation. The artifact appeared in England in the early 20th century, and was only authenticated as a relic from the era of Hammurabi after decades of scrutiny. Efforts to reconstruct its original colors and compare it with similar objects have offered some insight into its role in religious ceremonies, but its deeper symbolism remains unresolved. For this reason, the Queen of the Night endures as a symbol of the boundary between legend and archaeological reality, a meeting point where history and imagination converge, opening up endless questions about the nature and evolution of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations and their lasting influence to this day. The submerged prehistoric colony off Australia. Recent surveys of the continental shelf off Australia have revealed traces of a community that once existed on land, now sunk deep beneath the sea. Using stratigraphic data and paleo-environmental modeling, an international research team identified evidence of an ancient network of rivers and lakes, along with signs of prehistoric human presence. Fossilized animal remains and crude tools found in these sediments have been dated to about 2.5 million years ago, far earlier than any previous record of human presence in Australia. This discovery raises significant questions about ancient migration, and when the first human groups reached this region. Geological analysis of the coastal zone shows that at the end of the Pleistocene, when sea levels were lower, Australia was joined to surrounding lands by a vast land bridge. Prehistoric migrants, likely members of ancient hominin species, may have crossed this bridge before geological and climate changes submerged the area beneath the modern sea. The remains of this underwater settlement not only push back the known timeline of human history in Australia, but also suggest the appearance and extinction of early human communities far earlier than previously believed. As the last great floods of the Ice Age swallowed the land bridge, evidence of human activity and the foundations of early societies were gradually buried beneath layers of seabed silt. This discovery challenges traditional theories of human evolution and raises the possibility of ancient ocean-crossing migrations that could have occurred millions of years ago, long before Homo sapiens appeared on the evolutionary map. Africa splitting in two. Beneath the soil of Kenya, geological upheaval is taking place at a pace that has captured the attention of scientists worldwide. A massive fissure has suddenly opened and is expanding through the narrow region, dividing communities and disrupting the lives of thousands. This phenomenon is not merely the result of heavy rainfall or surface erosion. It is rooted in a profound tectonic process unfolding deep within the Earth's crust. Scientists have identified this as the opening phase of continental rifting, where Africa is slowly splitting into two tectonic plates along the East African Rift System. This process is driven by a superplume of heat beneath the lithosphere, where molten energy and material from the mantle rise upward, deforming and stretching the continental crust. Under these forces, Africa has developed weakened zones, running from the Red Sea through Ethiopia down to Mozambique, forming a vast network of rift valleys. The fissure in Kenya is just one surface manifestation of a process that will play out over millions of years, as the accumulating power of geological forces gradually separates two immense landmasses. This event is especially significant in the context of Earth's geological history. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Africa and South America were united as part of the supercontinent Gondwana, only to be split apart by similar processes, giving rise to the Atlantic Ocean and today's coastlines. The developments in East Africa today are a natural recurrence of plate tectonics, revealing how oceans and continents have continually formed and reshaped over hundreds of millions of years. If the process continues, a new ocean will eventually emerge between the two halves of Africa, creating a landmass isolated much like Madagascar. This is not just a geological milestone, it will profoundly affect environments, climates, and even the evolutionary trajectory of life in the distant future. Researching, monitoring, and forecasting these changes is an inseparable part of modern geology, laying the foundation for a deeper understanding of Earth's formation and the pivotal role of internal planetary forces in shaping the very ground on which humanity lives. Theories about Atlantis and lost civilizations around the world. Theories about Atlantis and other lost civilizations no longer focus on a single location. Instead, they have expanded as research in geology, ancient history, and global archaeology has deepened. One of the most prominent cases is Akrotiri on Santorini, a city belonging to the Minoan civilization. Layers of ash, several meters thick, cover the buildings, while intact water systems preserved after the eruption reveal a level of technological and social organization rarely matched for its era. By examining ancient Greek texts, researchers have found striking parallels between the volcanic eruption and tsunami that destroyed Aegean coastal cities and Plato's legend of a sunken city. The archaeological remains demonstrate a mastery over water management and urban planning, an advanced achievement only now being fully understood through modern analysis of the ruins. In Spain's Donana region, interdisciplinary studies using geology and satellite imagery have revealed enormous concentric circles and traces of ancient construction made from exceptionally durable materials. When compared to Plato's descriptions, the concentric rings and water barriers in Donana provide the closest model to the fabled city of Atlantis. The site's proximity to the Atlantic Ocean further supports the idea that this might once have been a major commercial hub or city destroyed by geological upheaval, perhaps a tsunami or massive land subsidence thousands of years ago. Some materials and artifacts found here are now being analyzed for their age and origin, to determine whether they are the work of nature or evidence of a society that disappeared before recorded history began. Malta's 35 megalithic stone temples stand as examples of early independent complex societies in the Mediterranean. These temples were constructed with precise astronomical knowledge, aligned with eclipses and solstices, evidence of advanced measurement skills and religious organization that have outlasted their time. Many of Malta's oldest structures have now been claimed by the sea, lying submerged below the modern waterline, fueling the hypothesis of coastal civilizations lost to rising oceans at the end of the last ice age. Off the coast of the Azores, geologists have documented underwater terraces that suggest sudden rises in sea level may have swept away ancient communities. The Eye of the Sahara, a massive geological structure with concentric rings dozens of kilometers across, was once thought to be a simple landmark but is now drawing the attention of archaeologists because its shape so closely mirrors ancient maps of Atlantis. While geological studies confirm it was shaped mainly by erosion and shifting bedrock, evidence of prehistoric human activity here remains controversial. At Yonaguni, divers have discovered an underwater formation of step-like and right-angled stone structures. Some researchers argue these are natural, while others see them as the work of an unknown prehistoric culture of East Asia. When these cases are compared, a pattern emerges. Each site has legends of advanced cities that flourished, then vanished suddenly in the face of natural disaster. Radiometric dating, analysis of architectural forms, and comparison with ancient records now offer a new perspective, that early civilizations may have achieved high levels of development, only to be swept away by extreme environmental changes at the end of the Ice Age. These theories have moved beyond simply asking, "Where is Atlantis?" and now consider the broader question of how cycles of growth and collapse have shaped ancient civilizations worldwide. Each new archaeological discovery from the Mediterranean to West Africa adds to the growing puzzle of humanity's past. Whether Atlantis was metaphor or reality, it has become a touchstone for modern archaeology to re-examine the arc of social evolution and the relationship between people and climate change in ancient history. The ancient Teotihuacan village beneath Mexico City. Beneath the southeastern ground of Mexico City, the remains of an ancient village are slowly revealing key details about the social structure and suburban development of the Teotihuacan civilization. Modern archaeology has uncovered stacked layers of stone foundations and evidence of many generations living in succession for centuries. Houses were built close together and divided by narrow, neatly paved walkways, showing that the community had developed a logical spatial organization, with separate areas for living and ritual. This village flourished as Teotihuacan expanded, attracting migrants from across the Mexico Valley to serve its booming craft production and trade. Here, groups of artisans specializing in pottery and everyday tools established small, family-run workshops, passing skills down through the generations. The broken pottery fragments unearthed at the site carry the distinctive decoration, firing techniques, and forms of Teotihuacan, but also preserve local details, evidence of continuous interaction between the urban center and its surrounding communities. The arrangement of communal kitchens and shared spaces suggests this was not simply a satellite settlement, but a relatively independent society, serving as a crucial link in the production and distribution of goods for Teotihuacan. Burial pits reveal complex funerary rites, with figurines and work tools placed beside the dead, indicating the development of unique religious beliefs influenced by the ceremonial traditions of Teotihuacan, where ritual sacrifice and god worship followed the pan-Mesoamerican pattern. The artifacts preserved in the ground, from stone tools to ceramics and animal bones, create a clear map of production and trade. Organic traces on the pottery even help identify the sources of raw materials, showing that the ancient village participated in trade routes stretching from the mountains to the ancient lakes and plains. Each layer of earth is a cross-section of daily life, from family meals to the religious ceremonies held at the changing of the seasons or when someone died. The village's role extended far beyond that of an ordinary settlement. It was the vital link connecting Teotihuacan to the entire basin. As the city grew, these villages became crucial relay stations for building materials and food supplies. This satellite network ensured the steady provisioning of the metropolis, shaping a diverse and stable economy that allowed Teotihuacan to thrive for centuries. Even after the arrival of the Aztecs, this land remained a legacy of layered cultural deposits. The Aztecs not only inherited the geographic location, but also the production networks and labor traditions established by Teotihuacan's satellite communities. Today's research proves that the rise of ancient cities in Mesoamerica was built on long-term symbiosis between urban centers and villages, a resilient structure, able to withstand geological upheaval and environmental change for generations. Though most of this ancient village now lies deep beneath modern Mexico City, each new excavation uncovers a new chapter in the story of its formation, development, decline, and renewal, a place where the memory of the Teotihuacan civilization still endures beneath the bustling capital. The Etruscans. The Etruscan civilization flourished in central and northern Italy from the 8th century BCE, with its core in the Tuscany region. The rise of independent city-states created a loose confederation of towns, each with its own government and administrative structure. The most distinctive feature of Etruscan society was its wealth gained from controlling vital trade routes that linked the Mediterranean to inland Europe, and from advanced metallurgy based on abundant mineral resources. Etruscan architecture, art, and funerary rituals had a profound influence on ancient Rome. Many symbols, and even elements of the Latin alphabet, were borrowed directly from Etruscan tradition. The Etruscans built massive cemeteries and crafted rare and valuable artifacts. Archaeological evidence shows this society developed stone vaulting and the use of public squares, while maintaining an artistic tradition in pottery and goldsmithing of exceptional sophistication. One of the greatest mysteries about the Etruscans is their unique language, entirely different from the Indo-European languages then common in Europe. While scholars have managed to decipher some of it thanks to bilingual inscriptions and names, the grammar and many characters remain undeciphered. This leaves many gaps in our understanding of their history and diplomacy. The decline of the Etruscans began in the 4th century BCE, as their cities were drawn into wars with an expanding Rome, as well as invasions by Celtic tribes and other outsiders. After a series of military defeats, Etruscan cities were gradually absorbed into Rome, and the native civilization faded through assimilation. Yet the Etruscan material heritage and cultural influence persisted in Roman art and religion, leaving a deep mark on the course of Mediterranean history. Recent excavations continue to expand our knowledge of the society and beliefs of one of ancient Europe's most mysterious peoples. The meteor impact, 3.26 billion years ago. A meteor impact that struck Earth about 3.26 billion years ago is considered one of the most significant turning points in the planet's evolutionary history. Geological studies in South Africa have uncovered traces of a massive impact, leaving behind layers of rock rich in phosphorus and iron. By cross-referencing isotope data and chemical composition, scientists concluded the meteor measured between 23 and 36 miles, across 50 to 200 times larger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. When the collision occurred, its enormous energy vaporized and scattered the meteor's material into the atmosphere, creating a global shower of phosphorus-rich debris. Phosphorus is an essential element for all life, forming the backbone of DNA and energy-carrying molecules like ATP. This sudden influx of extraterrestrial phosphorus enriched the chemistry of Earth's early oceans, fostering the formation of complex organic molecules. At the same time, iron was added to the water, especially in shallow coastal zones, enhancing the catalytic reactions of early biochemistry. Beyond chemistry, the impact sent shock waves through the dynamics of the primordial oceans. Tidal flows, seismic waves, and water mixing distributed nutrients throughout the newly formed seas. This churning did not just spread organic and inorganic materials, but also created opportunities for ancient microbes to access the energy sources they needed to spark the first cycles of life. Over time, subsequent geological changes erased much of the direct evidence of the event, yet the layers of phosphorus and iron-rich sediment remain as cosmic signatures, allowing scientists to trace the origins and evolution of life. These findings not only highlight the role of cosmic events on Earth, but also suggest that meteor-delivered elements may be a universal mechanism for jump-starting life on other planets. From a planetary science perspective, the 3.26 billion-year-old impact is meaningful not only for Earth, but for our understanding of life's potential throughout the universe. It links geology and biology in a causal chain, supporting the modern view that the origins of life are shaped by both planetary and cosmic forces. Goblin Valley. Goblin Valley in Utah stands as a remarkable example of the intersection between long-term geological processes and traces of ancient native cultures in North America. The area is distinguished by bizarrely shaped sandstone formations, created over millions of years of weathering and natural erosion. Wind and temperature changes have sculpted clusters of rocks into shapes reminiscent of living creatures, or goblins, giving the place its name. Geologically, these rocks belong to the Entrada Sandstone Formation from the Middle Jurassic era. The unique mineral composition and ancient climate conditions produce thousands of rounded stone columns, bulbous at the top and tapering below, creating an almost surreal landscape. Beyond its natural wonders, Goblin Valley bears evidence of the activities of ancient peoples like the Fremont and Ute. On the surrounding cliffs, archaeologists have found numerous petroglyphs and pictographs. These testify to a long human presence and the enduring relationship between people and this desert environment. The cultural relics are a rich source for understanding daily life and show a deep spiritual connection between native communities and their landscape, with symbols of animals, religious rituals, and communal life etched into the rock. Today, Goblin Valley is not only a key site for geology, paleontology, and archaeology, but also a national park celebrated by the public, a place where science and heritage are preserved and honored. Exploring Goblin Valley broadens our understanding of landscape formation and the legacy of ancient civilizations that once flourished in this land. The Eastern Atlantis. Beneath the turquoise waters of the Arabian Sea, a research team from the National Institute of Ocean Technology in India has identified a site lying nearly 26 feet below the surface, stretching along the coast of Gujarat. Rows of stone walls and an intact drainage system point to a carefully planned urban structure. Analysis of charcoal samples and organic material deposited here has dated the site to over 7,500 years before Christ, far older than many ancient cities known in India or the wider ancient world. Within the remaining sediment, scientists discovered what appear to be temple structures, residential zones, and straight causeways linking architectural clusters. Numerous stone tools and fragments of coarse pottery were scattered through the coastal sediment layers. These findings align closely with descriptions of Dwarka in the Mahabharata, an epic city said to have been built by the god Krishna, recorded as possessing stone buildings and advanced waterworks. What lies on the seabed raises profound questions about the technological abilities of the people from this era. They employed construction and water management techniques to create a city capable of supporting daily life and trade along the coast, a level of organization typically seen only in much later civilizations. Moreover, the submergence of Dwarka is tied to legends of a great flood that wiped out many cities at once, corresponding to accounts of global cataclysm some 12,000 years ago. This discovery, along with submerged cities in other areas such as the Mediterranean, supports theories of sudden climate shifts and rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age that redrew the map of humanity. Countless civilizations may have been erased, leaving scattered traces beneath the ocean floor. Dwarka is not just an archaeological site, but a reminder of the possible existence of lost civilizations far older than the timelines imagined by modern societies. The mysterious highland culture of Venezuela's Andes. Deep in the valleys of Venezuela's Andes, an archaeological find has drawn scientists into the rugged highlands, where rock paintings nearly 4,000 years old still cling to the cliffs. Each image is a unique relic, from plant motifs to human and animal figures, painted vertically and horizontally across sheer stone using iron and manganese-rich pigments that have allowed the colors to endure the region's harsh climate. The scale of these murals extends far beyond a single religious site. They are scattered across multiple mountaintops, places first inhabited by early humans adapting to the mountain forests of northern South America. Unlike the known cultures of the Andes or South American lowlands, the art here does not resemble anything from Chavín, Tirona, or the Inca. There is no evidence of architectural structures or metal tools, suggesting this was a society that emerged and developed apart from the region's later great civilizations. Biological samples from the area ranging from plant remains to fossilized small animal bones show signatures of the tropical highlands, testifying to a long history of survival and development through semi-nomadic or hunter-gatherer lifestyles, with cultural memory recorded on stone. Genetic analysis of ancient DNA found here reveals significant differences from groups in the Amazon lowlands or Pacific coast, strengthening the theory that the northern Andes were home to a genetically and culturally distinct branch. Anthropologists believe these enigmatic designs were more than records of daily life or belief systems. They were a symbolic language encoding migration stories and origin myths, serving as a visual language for an isolated mountain community. The link between these rock artists and waves of migration southward after the Ice Age is being clarified by stratigraphic and absolute dating studies. Current research into these Andean murals is opening new pathways to understanding South America's prehistoric past, suggesting that the continent's cultural development was far more complex than classical models suggest. Every layer of paint and every undeciphered symbol may hold clues to the diversity and mystery of humanity's progress, and the critical role of mountain peoples in the broader story of South American history. The civilization buried beneath the Sahara. Beneath the sands of Libya's Sahara, analysis of satellite images collected by the oil industry has revealed a network of ancient cities and irrigation systems arranged with remarkable precision. Most striking among these remains are numerous fortresses, villages, and defensive structures, testifying to the Garamantes' advanced social organization and water management. This region marked the Roman Empire's frontier, a meeting place between imperial power and independent local groups who mastered survival in arid lands. On-site surveys have recorded underground canals, wells, and roads connecting settlements, evidence of sophisticated groundwater use and sustained agriculture in the desert. The layout of fortresses reflects the vital importance of water control and territorial defense, binding communities together along trade and migration routes from North to Central Africa. Satellite imagery also raises the possibility that multiple cultural layers exist in this region, with the legendary city of Zerzura standing out. Zerzura appears in many Arabic manuscripts and the travelogues of Western explorers since the 19th century, often described as a white city in the desert, full of treasure and mystery. Yet there is no archaeological proof of its precise location, or whether the newly discovered ruins are connected to Zerzura. Reconstructing the Sahara's history through a combination of satellite data and ancient sources continues to add details about the rise and fall of ancient societies here. It is likely that cities, forts, and irrigation systems changed hands, and were rebuilt many times in response to shifting climate, population, and Roman expansion. The challenge of deciphering the buried ruins goes beyond the Garamantes. It raises basic questions about the history of urbanization, survival strategies, and the meeting of civilizations in the world's largest desert. The mysterious Rosetta Stone of Spain. In the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula, the discovery of a stone stele has marked a turning point for European archaeology. Dating to around 2,600 years ago, its surface is carved with characters from the writing system of Tartessos, one of the most enigmatic and debated cultures in Iberian history. Despite repeated attempts, the script remains undeciphered. As a result, the history and legends of Tartessos must be reconstructed mainly through archaeological sites and accounts from neighbors such as Greece, Rome, and ancient Egypt. Tartessos once flourished as a major trading center at the junction of the Mediterranean and Atlantic, controlling the movement of tin, silver, and copper across the region. Archaeological evidence shows fortified settlements, temples, and a wealth of metalwork, ceramics, and jewelry crafted with extraordinary skill. For centuries, Tartessos attracted merchants and explorers from Greece, Phoenicia, and Egypt, but nearly all written records about it come from outsiders, not from within the culture itself. The newly discovered stelae may offer key historical insights, emerging from an area that was once a crossroads of migration and commerce in the Iron Age. Its carvings depict battle scenes, human figures, weapons, and 21 unique script symbols, suggesting a sophisticated and previously unknown writing system. Some have speculated that the Tartessos language could be pre-Latin or a hybrid of Phoenician and native script, but attempts to decode it have so far been frustrated by the lack of bilingual inscriptions, unlike Egypt's ancient Rosetta Stone. As a result, much of Tartessos' written heritage remains locked away, obscuring the details of its society, beliefs, and the reasons for its mysterious collapse. The material legacy of Tartessos is visible in ruins, buried treasures, bronze statues, and gold jewelry, but its greatest mystery is the undeciphered script. The civilization vanished abruptly in the 6th century BC, leaving no signs of migration or destruction by war, only deepening its fascination for modern researchers. Deciphering this stele could help reconstruct the history of Tartessos and add a new chapter to Europe's ancient civilizations, shedding light on prehistoric links between Spain, the Mediterranean, and the wider ancient world. The headquarters and secret vaults of the Templars in Paris. The headquarters of the Knights Templar in Paris was once considered one of the most formidable and mysterious strongholds of medieval Europe. Though all surface structures have now disappeared, many researchers believe that underground passages and secret rooms remain beneath the city, waiting to be uncovered. At its height, the Templar commandery was a center of military and financial power, as well as a secure archive for documents, treasures, and sacred objects linked to the order's history. Some theories propose that the underground network beneath the fortress included tunnels connecting the towers, secret vaults, and meeting chambers deep within the old city's soil. In archival records and scattered accounts from the 13th to 19th centuries, witnesses occasionally mentioned inaccessible rooms believed to contain top-secret documents, precious artifacts, or even symbolic relics of the Templar order. It has been suggested that when the above-ground fortress faced destruction, particularly during the suppression of the order in the early 14th century, part of the Templar treasure and records were hidden below ground. Beyond historical analysis, modern geological and archaeological surveys have repeatedly found ancient foundations, tunnel fragments, and unusual architectural features beneath the site of the Templar headquarters. While no definite treasure chamber has been located, the dense layers of unexcavated substructure suggest that future discoveries remain possible. These underground systems were not only used for storing wealth and safeguarding information, but also reflect the Templars' remarkable skills in organization, construction, and security. The blend of material remains, legend, and fragmentary archaeological evidence has made the Paris Templar commandery a major subject of Western mystery. To this day, every clue about the underground complex continues to captivate researchers and explorers, fueling the quest to unlock the hidden layers of one of medieval Europe's greatest symbols of power, secrecy, and spiritual legacy. Vanguard Cave in Gibraltar. Vanguard Cave in Gibraltar stands as one of archaeology's most significant sites, providing vital evidence about the lives of Neanderthals and the ancient environment of the Mediterranean coast. The exploration of this cave opened a unique window into sediment layers that had remained completely sealed for nearly 40,000 years, giving scientists the chance to study fossil beds, artifacts, and traces of daily life in an undisturbed state. Inside Vanguard Cave, archaeologists uncovered signs of habitation, stone tools, hearth remnants, animal bones, and fossils from a range of species that once lived in the region during the Ice Age. The discovery of a Neanderthal child's milk tooth, alongside the bones of large predators such as hyenas and vultures, has helped to reconstruct the ecological dynamics and survival strategies of this prehistoric community. Studies show that the Neanderthals of Gibraltar did more than hunt and gather food. They also exploited marine resources like shellfish and aquatic life, demonstrating remarkable adaptability to the ever-changing environment along the shoreline. The presence of marine fossils such as large shells, found together with terrestrial animal bones in the same stratigraphic layers, provides direct evidence of interaction between Neanderthals and the local fauna. It also reflects how climate change shaped both ecosystems and the lifeways of ancient humans. The discoveries at Vanguard Cave do more than confirm the Neanderthals' adaptability, tool use, and social organization. They also offer new clues about why this human species eventually disappeared, and the role that shifting environments and natural forces played in the rise and fall of ancient populations at the edge of Europe. The scientific value of Vanguard Cave is crucial to our understanding of human evolution and the natural history of the Mediterranean world. Minoans and Mycenaeans. On the ancient lands of Greece, two civilizations emerged in turn, leaving the first marks of writing and organized society in Europe. The Minoans, from the island of Crete, and the Mycenaeans, from mainland Greece, ushered in the historical era through their archaeological remains and early records. For centuries, these two communities developed palace complexes, ritual centers, and trade networks, laying the groundwork for later cultural, technical, and political traditions. The Minoan civilization rose on Crete in the 3rd millennium BC, built upon maritime trade and a web of cities centered around palaces like Knossos, Phaistos, and Melia. The intricate architecture of their palaces, walls adorned with frescoes, and vast storerooms all point to advanced organization and economic control. Their language, recorded in the undeciphered Linear A script, remains one of history's puzzles. The Minoans engineered water systems, workshops, and metallurgical facilities, expanding their influence through trade with Egypt and the Near East, contributing to a far-reaching network across the ancient seas. In the early 2nd millennium BC, the Mycenaeans gradually supplanted the Minoans, inheriting much of their knowledge. On the Greek mainland, fortress cities such as Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos rose with massive cyclopean stone walls, palaces, and rooms inscribed with Linear B, the first script to record the Greek language. The Mycenaeans created a militarized society, fostered a warrior elite, built fleets, and extended their reach across islands and coastal plains. This civilization became a vital connector among the hubs of the eastern Mediterranean, and gave rise to the heroic legends the Iliad and Odyssey that Homer would later immortalize. The collapse of both civilizations occurred during a period of profound upheaval, lasting decades at the end of the 2nd millennium BC. Geological and archaeological evidence point to natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, and especially the eruption of Santorini volcano, which directly impacted Minoan centers. Afterwards, waves of conflict, war, and incursions by new groups from the north weakened the Mycenaean palace system, culminating in the fall of the Old Order. After the fall of their centers of power, Greece entered a transitional era full of unsolved mysteries. Yet the legacy of the Minoans and Mycenaeans continued to shape future generations. Their architecture, art, social organization, scripts, and myths were carried on for thousands of years, forming the very foundations of ancient European civilization.
The oldest temple in Abu Dhabi. An ancient architectural site recently discovered on Gaga Island, off the coast of Abu Dhabi, has been identified as the oldest known structure ever found in the Middle East. Experts have dated this site to around 8,500 years ago, making it even older than the previously discovered ruins on Marawa Island. Archaeological evidence reveals that this is a simple stone structure, consisting of low walls and a square foundation, reflecting the early building techniques of coastal hunter-gatherer and fishing communities in the region. Materials recovered at the site include fragments of broken pottery, animal bones, and stone tools, indicating that ancient people here had already developed skills in crafting and lived together in groups. The analysis of animal fossils along with plant remains has allowed researchers to determine that the climate during this period was relatively mild, and Gaga Island was once a resource-rich coastal area, ideal for settlement and the emergence of the first semi-sedentary lifestyles on the Arabian Peninsula. This discovery expands our understanding of how ancient communities formed in the Middle East, providing tangible evidence for theories about ancient waves of coastal migration moving through the Gulf region. Although only the low foundations and traces of primitive materials remain, the structure on Gaga Island holds great significance for regional archaeology, helping to clarify the historical picture of human societal evolution on the Arabian Peninsula in the period following the last ice age. The Woolly Mammoth Genome Study. The study of the woolly mammoth genome offers deep insights into the adaptation mechanisms of ancient animals to the harsh, icy environments of the polar regions. Woolly mammoth specimens unearthed from the Siberian permafrost have preserved their DNA in an almost pristine state. The analysis of complete genomes from several individuals across different time periods reveals a process of genetic evolution that unfolded over hundreds of thousands of years. By comparing the genetic sequences of the woolly mammoth with those of modern Asian and African elephants, scientists have identified unique mutations related to hair structure, thermoregulation, subcutaneous fat storage, lipid metabolism, as well as proteins involved in the body's response to cold. Certain genetic changes controlling the production of keratin and various fibrous proteins resulted in the formation of thick fur, excellent heat retention, and reduced energy loss through the skin. Other genetic adaptations relating to sweat glands, scent secretion, and the regulation of metabolic enzyme activity also contributed to the mammoth's survival in deeply cold conditions. Additionally, Genes involved in lipid storage and the enlargement of fat cells supported the mammoth's ability to store energy and protect its internal organs during prolonged periods of low environmental temperatures. The research also found a diversity of immune system genes that helped mammoth populations adapt to specific pathogens common in cold, low-light climates. The process of analyzing ancient genomes has also revealed signs of declining genetic diversity in mammoth populations during the late Pleistocene. As the environment changed rapidly and the population dwindled, harmful mutations became more common, increasing the risk of extinction. Comparisons between ancient and more recent specimens show that the final groups of woolly mammoths had higher rates of genetic errors than those from their peak period. Through the study of their genomes, scientists have not only explained the adaptation and evolutionary capabilities of the woolly mammoth in the context of ancient climate change, but have also gained valuable data for evolutionary biology, animal conservation, and even the revival of extinct species. Understanding the genetic mechanisms of adaptation helps to unravel the story of large-scale population changes in natural history, while also opening new avenues for applying genetic technology to research biodiversity in today's extreme environments.
If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, feel free to share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next discoveries. See you in the next video.